In the world of private investigation, where shadows linger and secrets abound, the role of a private investigator is both captivating and complex. This field, often shrouded in mystery, involves delving into the lives of individuals, uncovering hidden truths, and piecing together puzzles that can change lives. Private investigators operate in a realm that requires not only keen observational skills, but also a deep understanding of human behavior, legal boundaries, and ethical considerations. The challenges they face are numerous. From navigating the intricacies of the law to dealing with uncooperative subjects, each case presents its own unique set of obstacles. As we embark on this journey through the eyes of a seasoned investigator, prepare to be drawn into a world where every clue matters, and every decision can lead to unexpected outcomes. The tone of this video will be engaging and suspenseful, inviting you to experience the thrill of the chase alongside our investigator. We will explore a variety of intriguing cases, each filled with unexpected twists that will keep you on the edge of your seat. From missing persons to corporate espionage, the stories we will share are not just about solving mysteries. They are about the human experience, the emotions involved, and the lengths to which people will go to uncover the truth. So, buckle up as we dive into the fascinating and often unpredictable world of private investigation, where every case is a new adventure waiting to unfold. Working for Atlas Investigative Solutions, AIS, in the UK offers a unique glimpse into the world of private investigation, where professionalism and expertise are paramount. The hiring process at AIS is rigorous, designed to ensure that only the most qualified individuals join their ranks. Candidates typically undergo a comprehensive application process that includes submitting a detailed resume, followed by a series of interviews that assess not only their investigative skills, but also their ability to think critically and act ethically under pressure. AIS seeks individuals with a background in law enforcement, criminal justice, or related fields, as well as those who possess strong analytical skills and a keen eye for detail. Additionally, candidates are often required to have relevant certifications, such as those from the Association of British Investigators, ABI, or similar organizations, which demonstrate their commitment to maintaining high standards in the industry. AIS has built a solid reputation as one of the top private investigation firms in the UK, known for its professionalism, discretion, and successful case resolutions. The firm has garnered respect not only from clients but also from peers in the industry, thanks to its commitment to ethical practices and thorough investigations. This reputation is bolstered by a team of experienced investigators who bring a wealth of knowledge and expertise to the table. Their collective experience spans various sectors, allowing AIS to handle a diverse range of cases effectively. The firm's dedication to continuous training and development ensures that its employees stay updated on the latest investigative techniques and legal regulations, further enhancing its standing in the field. Private investigators at AIS typically handle a wide array of cases, each presenting its own set of challenges and requiring a tailored approach. Common types of cases include infidelity investigations, where clients seek to uncover the truth about their partner's fidelity, background checks for potential employees or business partners, ensuring that clients make informed decisions, and missing persons cases, where investigators work tirelessly to locate individuals who have disappeared under mysterious circumstances. AIS also delves into corporate investigations, which may involve fraud detection, intellectual property theft, or internal misconduct. These cases often require a delicate balance of investigative prowess and legal knowledge, as the stakes can be high for businesses and individuals alike. In addition to these common cases, AIS is also known for handling more complex investigations, such as those involving cybercrime or digital forensics. As technology continues to evolve, so too do the methods employed by those seeking to exploit it. Investigators at AIS are trained to navigate the digital landscape, utilizing advanced tools and techniques to uncover evidence that may be hidden in the depths of cyberspace. This adaptability is crucial in maintaining the firm's reputation as a leader in the private investigation field, as clients increasingly seek assistance in matters that intersect with technology. The work environment at AIS is dynamic and collaborative, fostering a culture of teamwork and support among investigators. Employees are encouraged to share insights and strategies, drawing on each other's strengths to tackle challenging cases. This collaborative spirit not only enhances the quality of investigations but also contributes to a positive workplace atmosphere, where employees feel valued and motivated to excel. Regular team meetings and training sessions ensure that everyone is aligned with the firm's goals and standards, reinforcing the commitment to excellence that AIS is known for. Moreover, the firm places a strong emphasis on client relationships, understanding that trust and communication are vital components of successful investigations. Investigators at AIS are trained to approach each case with empathy and discretion, recognizing the sensitive nature of the issues clients face. This client-centric approach has led to numerous success stories, where investigators have not only solved cases but also provided clients with peace of mind during difficult times. The testimonials from satisfied clients serve as a testament to the dedication and effectiveness of the AIS team. As we delve deeper into the experiences of those working at AIS, we will uncover the intricacies of specific cases that highlight the challenges and triumphs faced by private investigators. From the adrenaline rush of surveillance operations to the meticulous process of gathering evidence, each story will reveal the dedication and skill required to navigate the complexities of the investigation world. The unexpected twists and turns that often accompany these cases will keep viewers engaged, showcasing the unpredictable nature of private investigation work. In conclusion, working for Atlas Investigative Solutions is not just a job. It is a commitment to uncovering the truth and providing clients with the answers they seek. The rigorous hiring process ensures that only the most qualified individuals join the team, contributing to the firm's esteemed reputation in the private investigation field. With a diverse range of cases and a collaborative work environment, AIS offers its employees the opportunity to make a meaningful impact while honing their investigative skills. As we continue to explore the fascinating world of private investigation, we invite you to join us on this journey, where every case is a new adventure filled with intrigue and suspense. The case of Robbie, a promising young boxer, begins with an unsettling silence that enveloped his family and friends. Robbie was known not only for his talent in the ring, but also for his vibrant personality and unwavering dedication to the sport. He had dreams of becoming a champion, training tirelessly at the local gym and participating in amateur bouts that showcased his skills. However, one fateful evening, after a particularly grueling training session, Robbie vanished without a trace. His absence was felt immediately as he failed to return home, and his family quickly grew concerned. They reached out to his friends and teammates, hoping someone had seen him, but as hours turned into days, the worry transformed into a deep-seated fear. The initial circumstances surrounding Robbie's disappearance were perplexing. There were no signs of struggle, no messages left behind, and no clues to indicate where he might have gone. It was as if he had simply stepped into thin air, leaving behind a world that was now filled with uncertainty and dread. As the days passed, Robbie's family found themselves in a state of desperation. They scoured the local area, distributing flyers and speaking to anyone who might have information about his whereabouts. The local police were involved, but as time went on, the leads began to dwindle, and the investigation seemed to stall. Robbie's parents, heartbroken and frantic, felt a growing sense of helplessness. They knew their son was out there somewhere, but the lack of progress left them feeling powerless. It was during this tumultuous time that they made the difficult decision to hire Atlas Investigative Solutions, AIS, a top private investigation firm known for its success in solving complex cases. The family believed that AIS could provide the expertise and resources necessary to uncover the truth behind Robbie's disappearance. They were determined to leave no stone unturned in their quest to find him, and they hoped that the experience and skills of AIS would bring them closer to the answers they so desperately sought. The decision to enlist the help of AIS marked a pivotal moment in the investigation. The firm's reputation for thoroughness and discretion gave the family a glimmer of hope amidst their despair. Upon being contacted, AIS quickly mobilized a team of seasoned investigators who specialized in missing persons cases. They understood the urgency of the situation and were committed to applying their expertise to uncover the truth. The team began by conducting a comprehensive review of Robbie's life, examining his relationships, recent activities, and any potential conflicts that may have contributed to his disappearance. They interviewed family members, friends, and acquaintances, piecing together a timeline of Robbie's last known movements. Each conversation revealed new insights, painting a picture of a young man who was passionate about boxing, but also faced the pressures and challenges that came with it. As the investigation unfolded, the AIS team set the stage for a meticulous search for clues. They utilized a variety of investigative techniques, including surveillance, background checks, and digital forensics, to gather information that could lead them to Robbie. The investigators combed through social media accounts, looking for any signs of Robbie's whereabouts or interactions that might provide a lead. They also reached out to local gyms and boxing clubs, hoping to find someone who had seen him or knew of his plans. The team understood that time was of the essence. Every moment that passed could mean the difference between finding Robbie safe and sound or uncovering a more troubling reality. The emotional toll on Robbie's family was palpable as they awaited updates from AIS. Each day brought a mix of hope and anxiety, as they clung to the belief that their son would be found. The investigators worked diligently, driven by the urgency of the case and the family's unwavering determination. They knew that the stakes were high, and the pressure to deliver results weighed heavily on their shoulders. As they delved deeper into the investigation, they began to uncover a series of unexpected twists that would complicate the search for Robbie. The initial leads they followed revealed connections to individuals in the boxing community, some of whom had questionable reputations. This added a layer of complexity to the case, as the investigators had to navigate the intricate web of relationships and rivalries that existed within the sport. As the investigation progressed, the AIS team remained in constant communication with Robbie's family, providing updates and seeking their input on potential leads. They understood the importance of keeping the family informed, as their insights could prove invaluable in piecing together the puzzle of Robbie's disappearance. The investigators also emphasized the need for discretion, recognizing that the case could attract media attention and that any misstep could jeopardize the investigation. With each passing day, the team grew more determined to uncover the truth, fueled by the family's hope and the desire to bring Robbie home. The stage was set for a thorough and relentless investigation, one that would require not only skill and expertise, but also compassion and understanding. The AIS team was prepared to face the challenges ahead, knowing that the path to finding Robbie would be fraught with obstacles. As they embarked on this journey, they were acutely aware of the emotional weight carried by Robbie's family, and they were committed to doing everything in their power to bring closure to a situation that had left so many in turmoil. The case of the missing boxer named Robbie was not just another investigation. It was a race against time, a quest for truth, and a testament to the resilience of a family determined to find their loved one. With each clue uncovered and each lead pursued, the hope of reuniting Robbie with his family remained a driving force, propelling the investigation forward into uncharted territory. Before his disappearance, Robbie was a young man whose life revolved around his passion for boxing and a commitment to maintaining a healthy lifestyle. From a young age, he had been drawn to the sport, inspired by the discipline and resilience it demanded. Robbie dedicated countless hours to training at the local gym, where he honed his skills under the watchful eye of his coach. His dedication was evident in his rigorous training regimen, which included early morning runs, strength training, and countless hours spent perfecting his technique in the ring. He was known for his work ethic and determination, often pushing himself beyond his limits to achieve his goals. Robbie's commitment to boxing was not just about competition. It was a way for him to channel his energy and focus, providing him with a sense of purpose and direction. In addition to his boxing pursuits, Robbie worked part-time at a local pub, where he was well-liked by both patrons and coworkers. His job at the pub allowed him to connect with the community and provided him with a sense of independence. Robbie was known for his friendly demeanor and quick wit, often engaging customers in light-hearted banter while serving drinks. He balanced his work schedule with his training, demonstrating a remarkable ability to manage his time effectively. Despite the demands of his job and his rigorous training, Robbie always made time for his friends and family, valuing the relationships that enriched his life. He was the kind of person who would lend a helping hand to others, whether it was offering support to a friend in need or volunteering at local events. Robbie's aspirations for a boxing career were ambitious, and he had dreams of making it to the professional level. He often spoke about his desire to compete in larger tournaments and eventually secure a title. His coach recognized his potential and encouraged him to pursue his dreams, providing guidance and mentorship along the way. Robbie was determined to make a name for himself in the boxing world, and he was willing to put in the hard work necessary to achieve that goal. He had a clear vision of his future, and his dedication to the sport fueled his ambition. Friends and family admired his drive, often expressing their belief that he had what it took to succeed in the competitive world of boxing. Despite the pressures that came with his aspirations, Robbie maintained a positive outlook on life. He was known for his infectious enthusiasm and ability to uplift those around him. His friends often described him as a beacon of positivity, someone who could light up a room with his presence. Robbie had a close-knit group of friends who shared his passion for boxing, and they often trained together, pushing each other to improve. They would spend hours discussing techniques, sharing tips, and motivating one another to reach their goals. This camaraderie not only strengthened their skills, but also fostered a sense of belonging and support that Robbie cherished. Leading up to his disappearance, there were no apparent warning signs that would have indicated Robbie was in distress or contemplating leaving. He had a stable routine, balancing his job at the pub with his training and social life. Friends and family noted that he seemed happy and focused, with no signs of the anxiety or stress that often accompany the pressures of pursuing a competitive career. Robbie had recently participated in a few local matches, showcasing his talent and determination, and he had received positive feedback from his coach and peers. There were no indications of personal struggles or conflicts that might have led him to disappear. In fact, he had been looking forward to an upcoming tournament, which only added to the shock and confusion surrounding his sudden absence. Robbie's family and friends were left grappling with the mystery of his disappearance, struggling to reconcile the vibrant, dedicated young man they knew with the unsettling reality of his absence. They recalled conversations they had shared with him in the days leading up to his disappearance, reflecting on his dreams and aspirations. There was a sense of disbelief that someone so full of life and ambition could simply vanish without a trace. The lack of warning signs only deepened their anguish, as they searched for answers in a situation that felt surreal and incomprehensible. As the investigation unfolded, those close to Robbie began to reflect on his life, searching for any clues that might explain his sudden disappearance. They revisited memories of his dedication to boxing, his commitment to a healthy lifestyle, and the joy he found in his work at the pub. Each recollection served as a reminder of the young man they loved and the bright future that lay ahead of him. The absence of any troubling signs made the situation all the more perplexing, leaving them with a sense of helplessness as they awaited news from the investigators. Robbie's life was characterized by a strong sense of purpose, a commitment to his goals, and a deep connection to those around him. His dedication to boxing was not just a hobby. It was a fundamental part of who he was. The healthy lifestyle he embraced reflected his determination to succeed, and his job at the pub provided him with a sense of community and belonging. As the investigation into his disappearance continued, those who knew Robbie held onto the hope that they would soon uncover the truth behind his sudden absence, allowing them to bring him home and restore the vibrant energy that had once filled their lives. The search for answers became a collective effort, fueled by love, determination, and the unwavering belief that Robbie's story was far from over. The day before Robbie's disappearance, he received a mysterious phone call from a man named Tony, a moment that would later be scrutinized for its potential significance. Robbie had been at the gym, finishing up a particularly intense training session, when his phone buzzed with an unknown number flashing on the screen. Curiosity piqued, he answered, engaging in what seemed to be a casual conversation. Tony introduced himself as someone who had been following Robbie's boxing career and expressed admiration for his talent. He spoke with a tone that was both friendly and somewhat enigmatic, discussing Robbie's recent matches and hinting at opportunities that could arise in the future. However, as the conversation progressed, Robbie's demeanor shifted. He became increasingly cautious as Tony began to ask probing questions about his training schedule and personal life. Robbie's mother, who had been waiting for him to return home, noticed a change in her son's mood when he finally walked through the door. He seemed distracted, his brow furrowed in thought. When she inquired about the call, Robbie shrugged it off, insisting it was just a fan reaching out. Yet, his mother couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. She sensed an underlying tension in Robbie's voice, a hint of unease that made her heart race. As a protective parent, she voiced her concerns, urging him to be cautious about whom he spoke to, especially given the nature of the boxing world, which could sometimes attract unsavory characters. Robbie reassured her, insisting that he could handle himself and that he was simply excited about the potential opportunities that lay ahead. However, her instincts told her that this call was more than just a harmless conversation. When Robbie went missing, his mother recalled the call with increasing urgency. She felt a knot tighten in her stomach as she replayed the conversation in her mind, searching for clues that might explain its significance. In her desperation, she reached out to the police, hoping they would take the lead seriously. However, when she presented the information about Tony, the officers dismissed it as insignificant. They explained that it was not uncommon for athletes to receive calls from fans or individuals claiming to have connections in the industry. The police were focused on more concrete leads, and they did not see the call as a priority in their investigation. This dismissal left Robbie's family feeling frustrated and helpless, as they believed that the call could hold the key to understanding what had happened to their son. As the investigation progressed, the idea that Tony might be connected to Robbie's disappearance began to take root in the minds of those closest to him. Robbie's friends and family started to piece together the timeline of events leading up to his vanishing, and the call from Tony became a focal point of their discussions. They wondered who Tony really was and what his intentions had been during that seemingly innocuous conversation. The more they thought about it, the more they began to suspect that there was something darker lurking beneath the surface. Robbie's mother, in particular, became increasingly convinced that Tony was not just a fan but potentially someone with ulterior motives. She began to investigate further, searching for any information she could find about this mysterious figure who had reached out to her son. In her quest for answers, Robbie's mother turned to social media, hoping to uncover any connections between Tony and the boxing community. She scoured forums and local groups, seeking out anyone who might have encountered him or heard of his name. As she delved deeper, she discovered that there were whispers about a man named Tony who had a reputation for being involved in the underground boxing scene. This revelation sent chills down her spine, as she realized that the world of boxing was not as glamorous as it appeared. There were stories of fighters being manipulated, coerced, and even threatened by individuals looking to exploit their talents for personal gain. The more she learned, the more she feared that Robbie's aspirations had drawn him into a dangerous web of deceit. The police, however, remained skeptical of her concerns. They continued to focus on other leads, dismissing the idea that Tony could be connected to Robbie's disappearance. This lack of urgency from law enforcement only fueled the family's determination to uncover the truth. They began to take matters into their own hands, reaching out to local boxing gyms and trainers, hoping to gather more information about Tony and his potential involvement in the case. The family organized community meetings, sharing Robbie's story and the details of the phone call, urging anyone with information to come forward. They believed that the more people who were aware of Robbie's situation, the greater the chances of finding him. As the investigation unfolded, the shadow of Tony loomed larger. The family learned that he had been seen at various boxing events, often mingling with fighters and trainers. Some described him as charismatic, while others spoke of a more sinister presence. There were whispers of Tony's connections to individuals who had a reputation for being involved in illegal activities, raising alarm bells for Robbie's family. They began to wonder if Robbie's aspirations had inadvertently led him into a dangerous situation, one that he had not fully understood at the time of that fateful phone call. The mystery surrounding Tony deepened, and the family's resolve to uncover the truth intensified. They knew that the key to finding Robbie might lie in understanding the nature of his relationship with this enigmatic figure. As they continued their search for answers, they remained hopeful that the pieces of the puzzle would eventually come together, revealing the truth behind Robbie's disappearance and the role that Tony may have played in it. The investigation had taken on a new urgency, and with each passing day, the family clung to the belief that they would soon uncover the answers they so desperately sought. The phone call that had once seemed like a mere curiosity now stood at the center of a complex web of intrigue, and the family's determination to unravel it only grew stronger. As the investigation into Robbie's disappearance progressed, the team at Atlas Investigative Solutions, AIS, devised a strategic approach to gather information at the local pub where Robbie had worked, recognizing that the pub was a central hub of social interaction in the community. The investigators understood that it could serve as a valuable source of intel. Their plan was to blend in as regular patrons, adopting a casual demeanor that would allow them to observe and engage with the staff and regulars without raising suspicion. This method of infiltration was crucial, as it would enable them to gather insights and information that might not be readily available through formal interviews or inquiries. The investigators arrived at the pub during peak hours, when the atmosphere was lively and bustling with patrons. They positioned themselves at the bar, ordering drinks and striking up conversations with those seated nearby. By adopting a friendly and approachable demeanor, they aimed to create an environment where people felt comfortable sharing information. The team was careful to listen more than they spoke, allowing the regulars to share their stories and experiences. This approach not only helped them gather valuable insights but also fostered a sense of camaraderie with the locals, who were often eager to engage with newcomers. Interactions with the pub staff were particularly important, as they had first-hand knowledge of the dynamics within the establishment. The investigators took the time to build rapport with the bartenders and waitstaff, asking casual questions about their experiences working at the pub. They inquired about Robbie, expressing genuine interest in his character and work ethic. The staff, recognizing the investigators as friendly patrons rather than outsiders, began to open up. They shared anecdotes about Robbie's time at the pub, highlighting his positive attitude and strong work ethic. However, as the conversations progressed, the investigators subtly shifted the focus to any unusual occurrences or notable patrons who frequented the pub. It was during one of these conversations that the name Tony surfaced. A bartender, while reminiscing about Robbie, mentioned that he had seen a man named Tony at the pub several times, often engaging with Robbie in conversation. The bartender described Tony as a charismatic figure who seemed to take a particular interest in the young boxer. This revelation sent a jolt of excitement through the investigators, as they recognized the potential significance of this connection. They pressed the bartender for more details, asking about Tony's demeanor and any interactions he had witnessed between Tony and Robbie. The bartender recalled that Tony had a reputation for being somewhat of a smooth talker, often charming those around him, but there was an underlying sense of unease that accompanied his presence. As the investigators continued to gather information, they learned that Tony was not just a casual patron but had established a rapport with several fighters in the local boxing community. This connection raised alarm bells for the AIS team, as they began to piece together the implications of Tony's involvement in Robbie's life. The investigators understood that Tony's interest in Robbie could have been more than mere admiration. It could have been tied to the darker aspects of the boxing world that they had begun to uncover. The more they learned about Tony, the more they realized that he might be a key figure in understanding the circumstances surrounding Robbie's disappearance. The investigators also took note of the pub's atmosphere, observing the interactions among patrons and staff. They recognized that the pub served as a microcosm of the community, where relationships were formed and secrets were often shared. By blending in and engaging with the locals, they hoped to uncover not only information about Robbie, but also insights into the dynamics of the boxing scene in the area. They listened intently as regulars exchanged stories, often revealing connections to fighters, trainers, and promoters. Each conversation added another layer to the investigation, providing context and depth to the information they were gathering. As the night wore on, the investigators continued to engage with the pub's clientele, carefully noting any mentions of Tony and his interactions with Robbie. They learned that Tony had been seen at various boxing events, often mingling with fighters and trainers, which further solidified their suspicions about his potential involvement in Robbie's life. The investigators understood that they needed to dig deeper into Tony's background and connections, as the implications of his presence in Robbie's life could be significant. The discovery of Tony's name and his connection to Robbie marked a turning point in the investigation. The AIS team recognized that they were on the cusp of uncovering a crucial lead that could shed light on Robbie's disappearance. They began to formulate a plan to investigate Tony further, seeking to understand his motivations and any potential ties to the underground boxing scene. The investigators knew that they needed to tread carefully, as they were entering a world that could be fraught with danger and deception. In the days that followed, the AIS team continued to gather information at the pub, deepening their understanding of the relationships and dynamics at play. They maintained their cover as regular patrons, ensuring that they remained inconspicuous while they worked to uncover the truth. Each interaction brought them closer to understanding the complexities of Robbie's life and the potential threats that may have contributed to his disappearance. The pub, once a place of camaraderie and community, had transformed into a critical focal point in the investigation. The investigators understood that the information they gathered there could be the key to unlocking the mystery surrounding Robbie's fate. With each conversation, they felt a growing sense of urgency, knowing that time was of the essence in their quest to find Robbie and bring him home. The name Tony had become a thread that they were determined to pull, unraveling the complexities of the case and revealing the truth hidden beneath the surface. As they continued their investigation, the AIS team remained committed to their mission, fueled by the hope that they would soon uncover the answers that Robbie's family so desperately sought. The atmosphere in the pub was lively, filled with the sounds of laughter, clinking glasses, and the faint hum of conversation. It was during one of these bustling evenings that the investigators from Atlas Investigative Solutions, AIS, had their first encounter with Tony, the enigmatic figure whose name had surfaced in their inquiries about Robbie. As they settled into their usual spot at the bar, they noticed a man who seemed to command attention without even trying. Tony was in his mid-30s, with a tall, athletic build that suggested he had once been an athlete himself. His dark hair was slicked back, and he sported a well-groomed beard that framed a chiseled jawline. He wore a fitted black leather jacket over a simple white t-shirt, paired with dark jeans and polished boots, giving him an air of effortless confidence. Tony's demeanor was charismatic, exuding a magnetic charm that drew people in. He had a way of engaging those around him, his voice smooth and persuasive, as if he were always in control of the conversation. As the investigators observed him from their vantage point, they noted how he effortlessly navigated the room, exchanging friendly banter with the staff and patrons alike. There was a certain swagger in his step, a self-assuredness that suggested he was accustomed to being the center of attention. However, beneath that charming exterior, the investigators sensed an underlying intensity, a flicker of something darker that hinted at a more complex character. As the evening progressed, the investigators seized the opportunity to approach Tony, introducing themselves as boxing enthusiasts who had heard about his connections to the local boxing scene. Tony welcomed their interest with a broad smile, his eyes sparkling with enthusiasm as he launched into a discussion about the sport. The conversation flowed easily, with Tony sharing anecdotes about fighters he had met and events he had attended. He spoke passionately about the intricacies of boxing, his knowledge evident as he dissected techniques and strategies employed by various fighters. The investigators played along, nodding and asking questions, all the while keenly aware of the subtle cues that might reveal more about Tony's character. However, as the conversation shifted, it took a turn that raised the investigators' suspicions. Tony began to discuss the intersection of boxing and gambling, a topic that seemed to ignite a fire in his eyes. He spoke of the thrill of placing bets on fights, the adrenaline rush that came with the unpredictability of the sport. He said, leaning in closer, boxing is just as much about the odds as it is about the punches thrown in the ring. You can make a killing if you know where to place your bets. His tone was casual, but there was an intensity behind his words that made the investigators exchange glances. They sensed that Tony was not merely a fan of the sport. He was deeply entrenched in its underbelly. As the conversation continued, Tony's demeanor shifted slightly, revealing a more calculating side. He began to share stories of fighters who had fallen into debt due to gambling, hinting at the darker aspects of the boxing world. Some guys just can't resist the temptation, he said, a smirk playing on his lips. They think they can outsmart the system, but it rarely ends well. I've seen fighters lose everything, all because they couldn't walk away from a bet. The investigators listened intently, recognizing that Tony was not just a casual observer of the sport. He was likely involved in activities that skirted the edges of legality. The implications of Tony's words weighed heavily on the investigators. They began to connect the dots between his interest in gambling and the potential for illegal activities. The boxing world, with its mix of competition and high stakes, often attracted individuals looking to exploit vulnerable fighters. The investigators couldn't help but wonder if Tony's charm and charisma were merely a facade, hiding a more sinister agenda. They exchanged knowing looks, understanding that they needed to tread carefully as they navigated this complex web of relationships. As the conversation drew to a close, Tony invited the investigators to join him for a drink, a gesture that felt both friendly and calculated. They accepted, knowing that this was an opportunity to gather more information while keeping a close eye on his behavior. As they settled into a booth, the atmosphere shifted slightly, the energy in the pub buzzing with anticipation. Tony continued to regale them with stories, but the investigators remained vigilant, aware that they were now entering a territory that could lead to deeper revelations about Robbie's disappearance. Throughout the evening, the investigators observed Tony closely, noting his interactions with other patrons and staff. He seemed to have a network of connections, exchanging nods and greetings with various individuals who passed by. This only heightened their suspicions, as they began to wonder how far-reaching Tony's influence extended within the boxing community. The investigators were acutely aware that they were dealing with a man who was not only charismatic but also potentially dangerous. As the night wore on, the investigators made a mental note of the details they had gathered about Tony. His physical presence, his demeanor, and the conversations they had shared all painted a picture of a man who was deeply embedded in the world of boxing and gambling. The implications of his involvement in illegal activities loomed large, and the investigators knew that they needed to dig deeper to uncover the truth. The encounter with Tony marked a pivotal moment in the investigation. The investigators left the pub that night with a sense of urgency, understanding that they were on the brink of uncovering something significant. Tony's charm and charisma had initially drawn them in, but as they reflected on the conversation, they recognized the potential dangers that lay beneath the surface. The connection between Tony and Robbie was becoming increasingly clear, and the investigators were determined to follow this lead wherever it might lead them. With each piece of information they gathered, they felt a growing sense of responsibility to uncover the truth behind Robbie's disappearance, and to protect those who might be caught in the crossfire of a world that was far more complex than it appeared. As the investigation into Robbie's disappearance deepened, the implications of Tony's involvement in underground boxing matches began to crystallize in the minds of the investigators at Atlas Investigative Solutions, AIS. The more they learned about Tony's connections to the illicit side of the boxing world, the more they feared that Robbie may have been lured into participating in illegal fights, a dangerous path that could have dire consequences. The allure of quick money and the promise of fame could easily entice a young fighter like Robbie, especially one who was passionate about boxing and eager to prove himself. The underground boxing scene was notorious for its lack of regulation and oversight. Unlike sanctioned matches, which were governed by strict rules and safety protocols, these unsanctioned events often took place in dimly lit warehouses or back alleys, far from the watchful eyes of authorities. Fighters were typically drawn in by the promise of cash prizes, but the risks associated with these fights were immense. Without medical personnel on site, injuries could go untreated, and the potential for serious harm was ever present. The investigators began to piece together a troubling narrative. Robbie, driven by his ambition and perhaps influenced by Tony's charm, could have been seduced into this dangerous world, believing he could handle the risks. As they delved deeper into the underground boxing scene, the investigators uncovered stories of fighters who had suffered severe injuries or even lost their lives in these brutal matches. The lack of safety measures meant that fighters often faced opponents who were far more experienced or physically imposing, leading to devastating outcomes. The investigators learned of cases where fighters had been coerced into participating, sometimes under the threat of violence or financial repercussions. The thought of Robbie being caught in such a situation sent chills down their spines. They could envision him, full of hope and determination, stepping into a ring where the stakes were not just about winning or losing but about survival. The investigators' growing concern for Robbie's safety was palpable. They understood that the allure of underground fights could be particularly enticing for someone like Robbie, who was passionate about boxing and eager to make a name for himself. The thrill of competition, combined with the potential for quick financial gain, could easily cloud his judgment. They worried that Robbie might have been drawn into a world where the lines between right and wrong were blurred, and where the consequences of his choices could be catastrophic. In their discussions, the investigators began to formulate a plan to gather more information about the underground boxing scene and Tony's role within it. They knew that understanding the dynamics of these illegal fights would be crucial in determining Robbie's fate. They reached out to contacts within the boxing community, seeking insights from trainers, fighters, and even former participants in underground matches. Each conversation revealed a darker side to the sport, one that was fraught with danger and deception. As they pieced together the puzzle, the investigators learned that Tony was not just a casual observer of the underground scene. He was deeply entrenched in it. He had connections to promoters who organized these illegal fights, and his influence extended to fighters who were willing to risk everything for a shot at glory. The investigators began to suspect that Tony may have been grooming Robbie, using his charm to entice him into participating in matches that could jeopardize his safety and well-being. The implications of Tony's involvement weighed heavily on the investigators. They understood that if Robbie had indeed been lured into this world, time was of the essence. The longer he remained in the clutches of individuals like Tony, the greater the risk to his safety. The investigators felt a sense of urgency to locate Robbie and pull him away from the dangerous path he may have unwittingly embarked upon. They knew that they needed to act quickly, as the underground boxing scene was unpredictable and often violent. As they continued their investigation, the AIS team began to strategize their next steps. They planned to conduct surveillance on Tony, hoping to gather evidence of his involvement in illegal activities and any connections he had to underground fights. They also aimed to reach out to Robbie's friends and acquaintances, hoping to uncover any information that could shed light on his recent activities and whether he had been drawn into the underground scene. The investigators' concern for Robbie's safety was not just professional. It was deeply personal. They had come to understand the young man through the stories shared by his family and friends, and they felt a sense of responsibility to protect him. The thought of Robbie being caught in a dangerous situation, manipulated by someone like Tony, fueled their determination to uncover the truth. They were driven by the belief that they could make a difference, that they could bring Robbie home and ensure his safety. As they prepared for the next phase of their investigation, the AIS team remained acutely aware of the risks associated with the underground boxing scene. They understood that they were entering a world filled with uncertainty, where loyalties could shift in an instant and danger lurked around every corner. The stakes were high, and the potential consequences of their actions weighed heavily on their minds. Yet they were resolute in their mission, knowing that the safety of Robbie hung in the balance. In the days that followed, the investigators intensified their efforts, gathering intelligence and building a case against Tony and his associates. They knew that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, but they were determined to navigate the complexities of the underground boxing world. With each piece of information they uncovered, they felt a renewed sense of purpose, driven by the hope that they could protect Robbie from the dangers that threatened to engulf him. The investigation had become more than just a search for answers. It was a race against time to save a young man who had been drawn into a perilous situation, and the AIS team was committed to ensuring that he would not become another victim of a world that thrived on exploitation and danger. The tension in the air was palpable as the investigator from Atlas Investigative Solutions, AIS, prepared to confront Tony. After gathering enough information about Tony's connections to the underground boxing scene, the investigator felt it was time to take a more direct approach. He had been observing Tony for days, noting his interactions with various fighters and associates, and he was convinced that Tony was not just a charming figure but a man deeply entrenched in illegal activities. The investigator knew that confronting Tony could be risky, but he also understood that the safety of Robbie, and potentially others, depended on uncovering the truth. The meeting was set in a dimly lit corner of the pub, a place where Tony often held court among his associates. The investigator arrived early, taking a seat at the bar while keeping a watchful eye on the entrance. He had a small recording device hidden in his pocket, hoping to capture any incriminating statements that might reveal Tony's involvement in illegal fights. As he waited, he felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety, knowing that he was about to step into a confrontation that could escalate quickly. When Tony arrived, he was flanked by two burly men who exuded an air of intimidation. The investigator recognized them as Tony's associates, known for their involvement in the underground boxing scene. Tony approached with his trademark swagger, a confident smile plastered on his face. Well, if it isn't my favorite boxing enthusiast," he said, his tone dripping with sarcasm. The investigator forced a smile, trying to maintain a calm demeanor despite the growing tension. "Tony, I wanted to talk to you about Robbie," the investigator began, his voice steady but firm. He had rehearsed this moment in his mind, knowing that he needed to tread carefully. "I've heard some concerning things about your involvement in underground fights. I think you might know more than you're letting on." Tony's expression shifted, the smile fading as he leaned in closer. "You really shouldn't be poking your nose into things that don't concern you," he replied, his voice low and menacing. The investigator felt a chill run down his spine as he realized that Tony was not just a charismatic figure. He was someone who could easily turn hostile. The two associates flanking Tony exchanged glances, their body language suggesting that they were ready to back him up if things escalated. The investigator pressed on, determined to gather evidence. "I know Robbie has been seen with you, and I have reason to believe he may have been lured into participating in illegal fights. This isn't just a game, Tony. People can get hurt, seriously hurt." He hoped that appealing to Tony's sense of self-preservation might yield some information, but instead, it seemed to provoke him further. Tony's demeanor hardened, and he leaned back slightly, crossing his arms. "You think you can come in here and threaten me? You have no idea who you're dealing with," he said, his voice dripping with contempt. The investigator's heart raced as he realized the gravity of the situation. Tony was not just a man with connections. He was someone who wielded power and influence in a dangerous world. The investigator's mind raced as he considered the implications of Tony's words. "You don't want to make enemies in this business," Tony continued, his tone now icy. "I suggest you back off before you find yourself in a situation you can't handle." The investigator felt the weight of those words, understanding that Tony was not just making idle threats. The underground boxing scene was rife with violence, and those who crossed the wrong people often faced dire consequences. As the conversation progressed, the investigator's instincts kicked in, and he began to assess his surroundings. The pub was crowded, but the atmosphere felt charged, as if everyone was aware of the tension brewing at the bar. He could feel the eyes of Tony's associates on him, their presence a constant reminder of the danger he was in. The investigator's heart raced as he realized that he was outnumbered, and that any misstep could lead to a confrontation that could escalate quickly. In that moment, the investigator understood the precariousness of his position. He was not just gathering evidence. He was putting himself in harm's way. The stakes had never been higher, and he felt a surge of adrenaline as he weighed his options. He could either continue to press Tony for information, risking a violent confrontation, or he could retreat and regroup, hoping to gather more evidence from a safer distance. The tension in the air thickened as Tony's associates shifted closer, their body language suggesting that they were ready to act if necessary. The investigator's mind raced as he considered the implications of Tony's threats. He had entered this confrontation with the hope of uncovering the truth, but now he was acutely aware of the danger that surrounded him. The underground boxing scene was not just a world of competition. It was a realm where violence and intimidation reigned, and he was a potential target. Realizing that he needed to defuse the situation, the investigator took a step back, raising his hands in a gesture of peace. "I'm not here to cause trouble, Tony. I just want to understand what's going on. Robbie's safety is at stake, and I believe you can help." He hoped that, by shifting the focus away from confrontation, he could buy himself some time to gather more information. Tony's expression remained unreadable, but the tension in the air began to ease slightly. "You think you can just waltz in here and play the hero?" he replied, his tone still sharp but less aggressive. "You have no idea what you're getting into," The investigator nodded, acknowledging the truth in Tony's words. He was venturing into a world that was far more dangerous than he had anticipated. As the conversation continued, the investigator remained vigilant, aware that he was walking a fine line between gathering evidence and provoking a violent response. He knew that he needed to tread carefully, as the stakes were high, and the consequences of his actions could be severe. The realization that he was in over his head weighed heavily on him, but he was determined to uncover the truth about Robbie's disappearance, no matter the cost. In that tense moment, the investigator understood that he was not just fighting for answers. He was fighting for Robbie's safety and the safety of others who might be caught in the crossfire of a dangerous world. The confrontation with Tony had opened his eyes to the risks involved, and he knew that he needed to proceed with caution. As he navigated the complexities of the underground boxing scene, he remained resolute in his mission, driven by the hope that he could protect Robbie from the dangers that threatened to engulf him. The encounter with Tony had been a wake-up call, and the investigator was more determined than ever to uncover the truth, even if it meant facing the very real dangers that lay ahead. As the investigation into Robbie's disappearance reached its conclusion, the outcome was bittersweet for his family. After weeks of relentless searching, gathering evidence, and piecing together the fragmented details of Robbie's last known movements, the investigators at Atlas Investigative Solutions, AIS, were able to provide some closure to Robbie's parents. They had uncovered the truth about Robbie's involvement in underground boxing matches and the dangerous influence of Tony, but the resolution came with a heavy heart. While they were able to confirm that Robbie had indeed been lured into a perilous world, the circumstances surrounding his disappearance remained shrouded in uncertainty. The investigators could not provide definitive answers about what had ultimately happened to him, leaving Robbie's family grappling with a profound sense of loss and unanswered questions. For Robbie's parents, the closure they received was a double-edged sword. They were relieved to know that their son had not simply vanished without a trace, but the knowledge of his involvement in illegal fights and the potential dangers he faced weighed heavily on them. They had always believed in Robbie's dreams and aspirations, and the realization that he had been drawn into a world fraught with peril shattered their hopes for his future. The emotional toll was immense, as they struggled to reconcile the vibrant young man they had raised with the harsh reality of his choices. The investigators witnessed the pain etched on their faces as they shared the findings, knowing that while they had provided some answers, they could not bring Robbie back or deliver the justice his family so desperately sought. The emotional impact of the case extended beyond Robbie's family. It also took a toll on the investigator himself. Throughout the investigation, he had become deeply invested in Robbie's story, feeling a sense of responsibility to protect him and uncover the truth. The harrowing nature of the case weighed heavily on his conscience, as he grappled with the limitations of his role as an investigator. Despite his best efforts, he could not change the course of events that had led to Robbie's disappearance, and the knowledge that he had been unable to save the young man from the dangers of the underground boxing scene haunted him. The investigator found himself reflecting on the fragility of life and the unpredictable nature of the choices people make, often driven by ambition or desperation. As the investigation concluded, the investigator took time to process the lessons learned from this harrowing experience. He recognized the importance of vigilance and awareness in the face of danger, especially in environments where the lines between right and wrong could easily blur. The case had highlighted the vulnerabilities of young athletes like Robbie, who, in their pursuit of success, could be easily manipulated by individuals with ulterior motives. The investigator understood that it was crucial to educate aspiring fighters about the risks associated with underground boxing and the potential consequences of getting involved in such activities. He felt a renewed sense of purpose, determined to advocate for the safety and well-being of young athletes, ensuring that they were equipped with the knowledge to make informed decisions. Moreover, the case underscored the significance of community support in times of crisis. Robbie's family had rallied together, seeking help from friends, local organizations, and the community at large. Their determination to find Robbie had sparked a movement, raising awareness about the dangers of underground boxing and the need for greater oversight in the sport. The investigator realized that while the outcome of the case may not have brought justice, it had ignited a conversation that could lead to positive change. He hoped that by sharing Robbie's story, others would be inspired to take action, advocating for the safety of young fighters and working to prevent similar tragedies from occurring in the future. In the aftermath of the investigation, the AIS team remained committed to supporting Robbie's family as they navigated their grief. They provided resources for counseling and support groups, understanding that the emotional toll of the case would linger long after the investigation had concluded. The investigator maintained contact with Robbie's parents, offering a listening ear and a compassionate presence as they processed their loss. He recognized that healing would be a long journey, but he hoped that by standing alongside them, he could help ease their burden, even if just a little. As the investigator reflected on the case, he felt a profound sense of responsibility to honor Robbie's memory. He understood that while the investigation had come to an end, the impact of Robbie's story would continue to resonate. The lessons learned from this experience would shape his approach to future cases, reminding him of the importance of empathy, vigilance, and advocacy. He vowed to carry Robbie's story with him, using it as a catalyst for change in the boxing community and beyond. In conclusion, the outcome of the investigation into Robbie's disappearance provided some closure for his family, but it also left them grappling with the emotional toll of their loss. The investigator, too, was profoundly affected by the case, reflecting on the fragility of life and the importance of advocating for the safety of young athletes. While justice may not have been served, the lessons learned from this harrowing experience would continue to resonate, inspiring a commitment to change and a dedication to ensuring that no other family would have to endure the pain of losing a loved one to the dangers of the underground boxing world. The journey toward healing and understanding was just beginning, but the hope for a brighter future remained alive in the hearts of those who had been touched by Robbie's story. In this video, we explored the intricate and often perilous world of private investigation, focusing on the case of Robbie, a young boxer whose disappearance led to a harrowing journey of discovery and danger. Throughout the narrative, several key points emerged that underscore the complexities and risks associated with private investigation, as well as the broader implications for individuals in their everyday lives. One of the primary takeaways from the video is the inherent danger that private investigators face while navigating the murky waters of human behavior and illicit activities. The case of Robbie highlighted how easily someone can become entangled in a web of deceit, particularly when ambition and vulnerability intersect. The investigators at Atlas Investigative Solutions, AIS, demonstrated remarkable dedication and skill, but they also encountered significant risks, especially when dealing with individuals like Tony, who operated in the shadows of the underground boxing scene. This serves as a stark reminder that the pursuit of truth can often lead to confrontations with dangerous individuals, and that the stakes can be incredibly high. Moreover, the video emphasized the importance of vigilance in our own lives. The story of Robbie serves as a cautionary tale, illustrating how quickly circumstances can change and how individuals can be lured into risky situations without fully understanding the consequences. It encourages viewers to be aware of their surroundings, to question the motives of those they interact with, and to trust their instincts when something feels off. In a world where appearances can be deceiving, maintaining a sense of awareness and caution is crucial for personal safety and well-being. The emotional toll of the investigation on Robbie's family and the investigator himself was also a significant theme throughout the video. It highlighted the profound impact that such cases can have on the lives of those involved, reminding viewers that behind every investigation are real people with real emotions and struggles. The journey to uncover the truth is not just about solving a mystery. It is about navigating the complexities of human relationships and the consequences of choices made in moments of vulnerability. As we wrapped up the video, we invited viewers to reflect on the lessons learned from Robbie's story and the broader implications for their own lives. The importance of being vigilant, questioning the motives of others, and understanding the potential dangers that can arise in seemingly innocuous situations cannot be overstated. We encouraged viewers to take these lessons to heart, fostering a sense of awareness that can help them navigate their own lives more safely. Finally, we want to engage our audience further by inviting them to subscribe to our channel, like the video, and share it with others who may benefit from the insights discussed. By doing so, viewers can help spread awareness about the dangers of private investigation and the importance of vigilance in everyday life. Our channel aims to provide valuable content that not only informs but also empowers individuals to make safer choices and understand the complexities of the world around them. In summary, this video served as a powerful exploration of the dangers associated with private investigation, using Robbie's case as a poignant example. The key takeaways emphasize the need for vigilance, the emotional impact of such investigations, and the importance of being aware of the potential risks in our lives. We hope that viewers will carry these lessons with them, fostering a greater understanding of the complexities of human behavior and the importance of safety in their everyday interactions. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and we look forward to bringing you more engaging content in the future.